Our next panel is Indigenous Youth Nutrition, Cultivating the Next Generation of Food Justice Leaders, sponsored by the Newman's Own Foundation. The moderator is Maria Givens, co-founder of Tahoma Peak Solutions from Seattle, Washington. Welcome, everyone.
Tiskitsque, Maria Givens, Chun Stichuamsh. Hello, everybody. My name's Maria Givens, and I am Stichuamsh, but most of you guys probably know us as Coeur d'Alene's. So I'm your moderator today. I'm really excited for this panel and all of our wonderful panelists. I'm joined by Rose Fraser, who's Oglala, Lakota. She's the executive director for the Oyate Teca project. And Nick Hernandez is also Oglala, Lakota. He's the president and CEO of Makoce Agricultural Development. And then we have Mary LaGarde. She's White Earth Band of Ojibwe. She's the executive director of the Minneapolis Indian Center, so right in this neck of the woods. And I'd love to just go around the horn with everybody. If you can kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your organizations and what you've been doing with youth and food sovereignty. So, Nick, do you want to start us off?
Oh, okay. I had it queued up. She was the first question, but Hamadakapi, Chote Washte Nape, choose up below, Waoki Mani, Machiapi. Good afternoon. My name is Nick Hernandez. I'm the president and CEO of Makoce Agricultural Development. Born, raised, and created from the Oglala Lakota band of the Oceti Sakowin. To answer the question, I'm a father of two, a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so to add to the question, what do we do with our youth and involving them? This question that was posed, I was really thinking about the youth, and as being a father of two young boys, and having gone through a youth generation, my response to that is that the youth are the fire keepers in our communities, and some of you might know what I'm speaking about, especially around fire keeping. It's really important to be a fire keeper, and I feel having gone through rites of passage, having been born and raised on a reservation. Our youth are just that. They are the fire keepers. They're the ones who keep the light, who create that warmth for not only our families but for our community. And so to understand the importance of involving them within a lot of our work, because someday I want to actually enjoy, to relax. And some of you guys know this from the perspective as being leaders, but also as parents. You sometimes want to sit back and enjoy, the blessings, the creation that you've created. And so to do that in an organizational stance is just that. Someday you want to be able to sit back and enjoy that opportunity. And so my response to the question is that the younger generation is the fire keepers.
Thank you for that. Mary, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us about what you do with youth at the Minneapolis Indian Center?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour. My name is Mary LaGarde. I'm a member of the White Earth Nation, executive director of the Minneapolis American Indian Center, which is about a half hour from here. And the Minneapolis American Indian Center is currently under construction. So if you haven't been around and you'd like to see the Indian Center, you should drive by it. We are under a total renovation and expansion project. And the work that we've been doing with our young people has been going on for a long time. Our after-school program has been housed at our Indian Center for over 30 years. And, with that, we have a lot of different programming, not only for our youth, but we also engage our whole family. So when we think about food sovereignty, we think about the whole family and ways that we can provide those opportunities for the whole family to participate and to learn and to grow together. And so one thing that we do with our young people and our families is Friday Family Fun Night. which is once a month. And that comes with food demonstrations. That is usually hosted by our cafe, which is called the Gatherings Cafe at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. And recently, we moved our youth program to, well, now it's the Boys and Girls Club of the Minneapolis American Indian Center. And so once we move back into our newly renovated and expanded building, we will have a whole space that's just dedicated for our young people. They'll have their own Boys and Girls Club wing, along with a Teen Technology Center with the help of the Best Buy Foundation. So all of those things are coming. And so the work that we've continued to do with our young people is after school. It is, during the school release days and summer school sessions. And our youth are at our temporary locations as much as they can be. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rose, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and Oyate Teca?
Hello, my name is Rose Fraser, and it's Oyate Teca.
Teca,
Sorry.
excuse me.
But that means Young People's Project, and I am the executive director for the youth center. It's actually a youth center. It's been a youth center since 1993, but we moved it in 2015 to be a community center. So we not only work with 0 to 18, but we work with 0 to 99. So we work with everybody there, and we have a variety of different programs that we do. We have our youth activities and stuff that we have. We went from a 24 square foot building to a 21,000 square foot building.
Wow.
To add in a gymnasium, we have a really nice kitchen that we can teach like home economics in, and different classrooms and stuff. We have a sewing room and an art room and a teen leadership kind of room. So that's where I'm from. That's where I come from, as the youth center.
Great. Thank you all for doing that little introduction for us. So I want to talk about the importance of working with youth because, I know when I was growing up, there were not the same amount of youth programs that there are today. And just why it's so important, because you can find people at a really formative stage in their life. And so, Nick, I wanted to ask you why including youth in your work has been so important. And I would love to hear more about the firekeepers.
Youth are important, like I said, being firekeepers, because they're the ones whose passion, you want to stoke, you want to build up. And so for us at Makoce, youth is a very significant part of everything that we do. Even my past history of creating, my place and space stemmed from my relationship with my grandparents. One was a contractor, my grandma was a nurse, so very understanding of the relationship to health. And so the importance of that is being able to foster that relationship and that understanding, especially as a youth, because that's where you create that passion. And Makoce wouldn't be what it is today without that youthful relationship, but also that youthful understanding. And what I want to do, and what we are doing as an organization, is fostering that understanding by bringing in the youth, because it's not a top down organization. It's at a grass level of organizing for our youth. And what we do is that we've started internships for our organization. So we've brought in younger generations, high school and whatnot, to come in and internship. So when we talk about paying for that experience, we've been able to bring in internships and pay for those, but be able to foster those ideas and not have an idea that we want to do, but to be able to foster and grow an idea from a youthful younger generation, because everybody has their own ideas, right? And so we want to do that at a level that's within the community, and that's not focused on the work, that we do, but focused on the passion of how do we push our youth to create change that we need within our community. And so we do that in many forms. We have 5 initiatives underneath the organization, and they're not set at different they're not set at specific age ranges. They're for everybody to be involved, from raising food to processing food to building curricula. And so we try to be diverse in the opportunities that we create, especially for our youth. So that's what we do as an organization for the youth.
Great, thank you. And so I really wanted to ask Mary about, what it's like running an Indian center in an urban area. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the issues that youth in Minneapolis are facing. So what are some of those, both the issues and opportunities that youth are facing in your community?
Oh, wow, this is a
big question.
It's a big question. It really is, and I can't talk about it without talking about what our youth have gone through in the past couple years. We have, we've all gone through and still are going through COVID, so the pandemic. But on top of that, our young people in Minneapolis, they were right in the middle of all of the destruction that happened in our city. So as you probably all know, the 3rd precinct of Minneapolis burned. And, it was during that time, we were, one, we were going through COVID, and then 2, on top of it, we had the murder of George Floyd. And then the riots started. And for our young people going through all of that, I just can't imagine being a young person and having to deal with it. And we think about food and food security. Their grocery stores burned. There was no Target, there was no Cub Foods. Those all burned. And so our families had to find other means, if they didn't have transportation, to be able to get out to the suburbs, to the outskirts of Minneapolis, so that they could buy groceries. And so, our young people, they face some unique situations. So it's it's safety. So they're dealing with safety issues in their community. Our kids are dealing with the fallout of all of the drug addiction that we're seeing in our communities. Our young people walk through homeless encampments to get to youth programs, to get to school. And so kids in Minneapolis, all of our kids, no matter where they're at, are facing some really tough issues. And for us, at the Indian Center, we do what we can to be able to help those kids and help the young people. I think that it's really important, those opportunities for our young people, for us too as adults, to help them navigate those waters, and so that they know that, that we're here for them. Our young people have gone through a lot. I don't know how many times I can say that. And yeah, I'm not sure.
But are there any opportunities in all of that, and any
definitely.
bright spots?
There's a lot of bright spots. So that was all the, all the dreary stuff. But bright spots, yeah. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, we have a number of American Indian organizations. And our organizations a lot work with youth. So you look at Little Earth of United Tribes Housing, Dream of Wild Health, Division of Indian Work, Migizi Communications. I mean, I can go on and on. We have a lot of programs for our youth, and we all work together. And so I think that those opportunities and being able for all of us as leaders of organizations and staff that work in these organizations, all being able to come together and talk about the issues, because we do that. And then how best that we can work with the community, and how best they can work with us. So it's a two-way street. But yeah, I think opportunities just by having other organizations that do similar work and coming together and leading that charge.
Thank you. Thanks. So I wanted to just ask the audience to raise your hand. So we have some folks up here on the panel who have built out youth programs, from very successful youth programs from the ground up. And I just wanted to ask everyone in the audience to raise your hand if you already are doing youth work in your day-to-day. All right, that's a good amount. And I'd also like to ask, raise your hand if you haven't yet started doing work with youth, but you want to. Okay, a few more. Great. So I want to go down the line and just ask our panelists, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned through your career working with youth and food sovereignty? And also just kind of what advice do you have for folks out there that may have raised their hands or are listening online? So Rose, what lessons have you learned in your work, and what advice do you have for folks out there?
We had a really hard time trying to get the youth involved in our gardening program. It's called the Medicine Root Gardening Program, and it's a 9-month gardening curriculum. And we tried everything. We even offer like incentives to try to keep kids coming and stuff. But we kind of found out that if we invited the family to come and participate in our program, then they can in turn get their children involved in it. Because gardening is really hard and labor intensive, and kids don't like to be out there nowadays in that heat. So we, instead of doing like community gardens and youth gardens at our center and stuff, we do home gardens. And we have the parents get their kids involved. So that's what's been working for us, is having the parent kind of involved in a program. I had my granddaughter, she didn't want to do anything. She didn't want to garden or anything like that. So I had her just plant one thing, just become a pumpkin farmer. So she was a pumpkin farmer. And she did it for 3 years. But the first year she did it, she made money. And so part of our program is trying to teach our kids to be how to become seasonal entrepreneurs, so that we have them growing their produce and then they can sell a portion of it, or they can use it strictly to grow or strictly to sell, or either a little bit of both. Well, my granddaughter just wanted to grow pumpkins and sell the pumpkins, so that's what she did. And the first year that she did it, she grew over 952 pumpkins.
Oh my goodness.
And she made over $1,200 just on that one thing. So the next year she tried to bring in some of her cousins and tried to bring them and tell them what she did and stuff. And so that year she got hailed out. And even with her getting hailed out and stuff, she didn't quit. So she came back the fall. That year she only got like 600 pumpkins, but still that was a lot. It wasn't a lot as the first year. But being able to have them come and then understanding that there's no jobs from where I'm at. And so creating a garden, something that you can take care of, and then bringing your produce over to our farmers market to sell it for some summer money or back to school money and stuff like that. That's what we have them doing. And she brought in her cousin. And so the second or the third year, so now they do the whole garden. They're doing a salsa garden, and they do the zucchini, cucumbers, and the pumpkins. So that's what they kind of moved up to.
That's so cool. I know who I'm gonna call around Halloween.
Yeah. But she was able to buy herself a go-kart.
Oh,
Each time
that's
she
great.
sold her produce and stuff. So she has a small go-kart, and then she moved up to a bigger one. So she has a really big go-kart.
I love that, just like picking one food to be your thing, and like you don't have to conquer everything. You can just pick one, and maybe it's pumpkins, maybe it's something else, but that can be your thing, and you just keep going with it.
Yeah, and then she even brought in her grandmothers, my aunts and stuff. There was 2 of them that helped her plant. So she kind of brought them all in, and then we fed them lunch to help us plant and stuff.
Yeah, bringing the whole family in. I think, I think back to when I was growing up and stuff, and sometimes my mom would say, "You just gotta go. There's no if, ands, or buts. You just gotta go do this thing with me." And so I love that idea about like maybe it's not just youth, but it's the whole family, bringing everyone together and having some of that intergenerational learning as well. Yeah, great. So Nick, what about some lessons learned from your work and some advice for folks out there?
I mean, lessons learned. I think it is just that. It's creating that space, that family-oriented space, especially around trying to focus on youth. There is some aspect of focusing just specifically on youth, but it all comes back to creating that relationship with family, but also creating those spaces. And we've been able to do that, as community back at home is developing these spaces. Rose talked about creating a 21,000 square foot multi-purpose facility, but also opening it up for the diverse opportunities for families, so then that you can bring your youth and participate. I think I brought my son over. We did a guitar class, but also at the same time she had foods that she prepared in her new kitchen. But also for what we do back at home is we have a what we call the Regenerative Poultry Producers Program, and it's identified for youth and families. And what they do is they raise meat bird chickens. And so when we talk about creating a relationship, what we're focused on is creating a relationship with our food, but at the same time we're creating that relationship with that family dynamic and that structure. And food is one of those foundations. We understand it's a foundation of culture and our family dynamics and our setting. And so they're able to raise chickens, both from brooding all the way to processing, and that has really grown within the youth and the dynamics of that. And so those are one of the successes that we've been able to do with our youth programming is learn how to engage and reconnect back not only with our food systems, but do it in a way that's impactful in the family cortex and the family relationship and understanding. Having the unchis and the grandmothers and the grandfathers and the aunties and uncles participate in a lot of these programs related to food and food ways, because that is the foundation. My Lakshi, Rick Two Dogs, he was at our conference a couple weeks ago, and he spoke about Wota, to all of us, to engage in consuming and eating of food. It's about creating that relationship as good relatives. And so for that's basically what it's about, and creating setting space, developing space. And for us on reservations, we have to do it backwards, because we have to develop these spaces and then have the community buy in, right? Because we're a show me space, in the words of my Lakshi, Lenny Lonehill. It's about show me these opportunities, and we'll participate. And so for the youth, it's real important on how we engage with them. But if we can set those tables and set those spaces and develop these buildings and these structures, they'll come. They're interested in these opportunities, but also more than just the status quo of what is within our communities. I mean, we're regenerating food systems, And that's very diverse, and it's understanding and taking that idea, that transfer of energy, and sharing that is what is key, because we use the words that we live in, poverty-stricken areas, we live in food deserts, but my focus on that is that let's create something, let's be the change makers, let's create new opportunities so that it's not within the 5 categories of workforce, let's create opportunities that you wouldn't imagine that can be created on reservations, and so that's what we do.
I love it. That's amazing. So Mary, any big lessons that you've learned throughout your career, or advice for folks out there that are thinking about starting a youth program or are in early days of it?
Yeah, listen to the youth. So I've been working in Minneapolis in the urban American Indian community for over 30 years. And you have to listen to the young people. I'll give you a couple examples. So a number of years ago at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, we decided to launch a campaign, and that was to not have sugar-sweetened beverages in our building. Well, I shouldn't say in our building, but not selling it, not providing it, at any of our groups, programs, anything like that. And our youth, our young people got involved with that. I don't know if it would have been as successful if our young people hadn't been the drivers. So they helped with all of that. They helped with, putting together the sugar boards and, getting these activities so that they could present to other people and other youth and show them, how much sugar is in a Red Bull or in a large soda. So it really was the young people driving that. And then after that, we've continued, no sugar sweetened beverages, but the staff sneak them in, but they can bring them in, so that's fine, but we just don't sell them. And then we decided to, the youth led, and this doesn't have anything to do with, kind of it does with health, but not necessarily nutrition. But the youth, the teens launched another campaign, and that was for tobacco-free area. So, of course, we didn't smoke in the building, but keeping all the outside of the Indian Center smoke-free too, which, is hard. After, what's the first thing everybody wants to do after they play basketball? They go outside and they light a cigarette up. So, that's what we were dealing with. And so, our young people were the ones that really led that change. And they developed all the signage. They spoke to our board of directors and to other groups about it. And, they went out and collected a lot of cigarette butts, and just to demonstrate how significant the problem was. So now when we're talking about nutrition, about the food, we don't have a healthy food policy at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, but we do provide healthy foods. And so, I think that as I'm talking through this, it definitely would work better if it's our young people that are leading that change, and it not coming from me or from other adults. So, I definitely listen to the young people. One other example has to do with the foods that we were preparing. So during the pandemic, when our state was shut down, our cafe had pivoted to providing meals out to our community members. So it was meals to our elders in the community, healthy meals out to our families. Because like I said, after with the pandemic and then, with the riots and things burning down, it was just, they needed access. So I better wrap it up, huh?
It's okay.
Oh, okay. So with the young people, I'll just say, just to wrap it up, that part of it, just to make sure that you are definitely listening to the young people and letting the young people do the leading. I think that is the most important, and to provide the supports for them so that they can do that, and just give them those boosts, because a lot of you that work with young people, you know how gifted they are. So cultivate that. Thanks.
I love that. I think that, I keep hearing that over and over again. It's just listen more. Listen to young people, listen to elders, and then, specifically with youth programs, I think that so many young folks out there may feel discouraged from sharing some of their thoughts or ideas, but some of the biggest movements in Indian country have been led by the youth. And so I think, it's our role as adults to support that and, harness that and give folks the way forward and just the space, like Nick said, actual physical space or, that mental, emotional space to kind of help folks go along. So I want to get into some of these pigeonhole questions. So we kind of touched on this earlier, but I love this question. How do you reach the teens? Do you have any tips? It seems like it's so much easier to get the little ones involved and excited to participate.
We have this activity called Just Because, and like she said, it's just because the kids want to do something. And then we have meetings with them, and then so they're the ones that usually plan out our calendar of events. And so like right now with our building, we're able to have a lot more classes in the evening and stuff as to what they want to learn. A lot of it's in the gym. There's no gym. I mean, there's the school gyms and stuff, but our gym's used for like the community and stuff. And so we have that opened all the time, but I like to visit with them and ask them questions on what they want to have happening there. So we base all of our activities on some of their stuff. It's kind of like I just sit and visit with them while they're sitting down eating or anything and ask them if they want something else going on there. So just visiting with them. Mm-hmm.
Visiting with them, giving them some space to decide what they want to do.
How do we reach teens? Just a couple of weeks ago, we hosted our what we call the Cofounder, and it's basically it's a community gathering, and we had a panel on there, and it was a panel of the younger generation. But we invited 5 schools, and one came and showed up, and it was a panel that they put together themselves. I mean, they moderated themselves. They asked their own questions related, things that they wanted to know, they wanted to find out around food sovereignty, food systems. They did it all, and all I said was, I have this slot. You guys create what you want, and you guys run the entire thing. But like I said, we set a place for them to be able to share information. And one of the key things of that is that how we engaged that that teen age group and sector is that we had internships. So I had 5 interns basically during the summer, and one intern, she's a junior in high school, very, very gifted, very smart, a real go-getter, and she's actually still on staff developing curriculum still for us to date. But she actually navigated that entire process, and so she brought the 6 students from her ethnobotany class, and it just took off from there. Now I'm getting emails from them saying, how can we be involved? How can you come and talk to the school? How do we create more space for this? And it's starting to create that that drive even more. And how do we apply for an internship? And so it's things like that, especially the teens, is that we got to create that space, but also be able to take that idea and let them foster and grow with that, and let them expand. Let them expand on that opportunity. And so I really see that as something that's going to take off even more not only for our next conference, but also even in our internship, because our youth want to do something. You know, they want to create change, just like we did when we were younger. So let's create that space, and let's foster that, and let's grow that. One of the other key things is that I have a younger generation on the board. Also, I have a college student on the board that actually started when she was in high school. And then as part of each one of our initiatives or processes, I bring in that younger generation so that we have that seat within our circles to be able to have that representation from a younger generation. So always being mindful, not only as a parent, but also as a community member, you know, creating those spaces and those seats for those younger generations to be involved.
Yeah, for sure. Mary, any thoughts on reaching teens and getting them involved?
Yeah, well, that's another good question. These are all great questions. But, you know, so one thing that we've been working on, you know, I told you all that we are going through a total renovation and expansion of the Indian Center. It's a $35 million project. And, you know, a big part of it is going to be that space for our youth. And, you know, when we started this whole process of redeveloping the Indian Center in Minneapolis, it was a community engagement process that started it. And now with our youth services and then our new Teen Tech Center that's going to be coming in to that building, you know, it is about, you know, again, engaging the teens in finding out what they want. And, you know, for them, this is going to be, it's a great opportunity. If there are electronic things that they are really interested in learning about, if they want to learn about making videos and music, you know, there's going to be opportunities for them, but it's going to be led by them. And so, you know, we've been taking time now since we've been in temporary spaces, and it's hard to get our youth engaged right now. You know, but we've been working with the youth and finding out from them what types of programming, what types of activities in the Teen Technology Center that they would like to see. And, you know, so again, I go back to, you know, putting the youth out first and listening to them. And, yeah, that's
Great. Mm-hmm. We've got a fun pigeonhole question. Do you have a favorite cookbook or two that you use to teach cooking and nutrition to the youth and their families? Any favorite cookbooks?
No, we have several. I mean, we use a lot. We're constantly looking at cookbooks. We're constantly looking up on Pinterest, on anything, just to get the kids interested in it. But we do ask them what they want to cook. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of go with what they want, but I don't have a favorite. I actually have Tanya and Kevin over there who ran our cooking classes this past winter. So, but they have tons of cookbooks all over the place in their office.
Oh, nice.
As far as a favorite cookbook, no, not really. Last year we did 20, I think we harvested 22 buffaloes in 8 states, in 20 communities.
Wow.
And what we did, it was all, you know, field harvested buffalo. But the main thing about that is that we did within the community and with the youth is that we actually, you know, cooked on site, you know, prepared meat and cooked the meat. And I would probably say, like, it's just, you know, in that moment, sharing the foods, you know, for its value. But as far as like an actual cookbook, I mean, I think I have 20 cookbooks, but never really have pulled anything out because I kind of leave that up to the cooks. And Esperanza, my youth, she did during the conference a couple weeks ago. She's been canning jelly, and so she did her own research and everything on canning jelly, but she did a whole presentation in Lakota, in the language. At 17 years old, she's working on being a Lakota language instructor for her next generation. And so at a young age, you know, she's learning a lot and actually sharing a lot. So we had a whole presentation. She did a whole presentation and created her own recipe all through for a presentation that we had. So.
Great. Mary, any thoughts on cookbooks?
So I'm the executive director, and I don't do the cooking itself.
Yeah.
But I think our staff, I'll just give a shout out to Dream of Wild Health, because I know that you know, they've done some great work with young people and have some great cookbooks out there. And so I think that's one that our programs have definitely used over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know I'm the moderator, but I do really like to cook, so I'll share a few of mine. Actually, I share a lot of recipes if folks are looking for recipes on my Instagram. It's called Native Soul Food. So if you need recipes I have a handful of buffalo, bison ones, so you can check that out. And I'm just super excited for the Native Chef Expo tonight and to see what kind of recipes they're cooking up. And I hope that they're gonna share some of those, that we can take those back home for these kind of things. So, our next pigeonhole question is, do any of your programs have youth cooking or preparing foods in the kitchen? Nick, what do you think about having youth cooking and preparing foods in the kitchen?
I mean, that is one of the key things that we are doing. What we've been able to develop in this last year during COVID with the help of like First Nations Development Institute, Tonka Fund, and then South Dakota Community Fund helped us to fund and build which is a 24 by 24 framed garage. But what we developed was probably one of the first cultural foods kitchen space on our reservation, and it's still under construction. But the intent of that is to create a space that's specifically, you know, identified for cultural foods. And so within that, during the conference that I talked about, Esperanza, my junior intern, she held the first food demonstration class in which she made the choke cherry jelly in that kitchen. So we christened basically this kitchen that we developed that took over a year in space to create, and that's kind of what we did. We built this 24 by 24 garage because what was happening is we were harvesting buffalo in January, and you guys know how Januaries are here, you know, in the upper Great Plains and whatnot. It's really cold, and so we got the idea, you know, light bulb. Let's build a climate controlled, food safe space, and we developed this 24 by 24 food safe kitchen, and now we'll have a food safe space to you know, process, package, and store foods within the community, specifically focusing on, you know, traditional foods in buffalo and choke cherry and whatnot. And so now we have this space as a community space that we want to expand those opportunities and let the community enjoy and have a space that they can be able to do demonstration and food preparation all year round.
That's great. That's so cool. So our final question, want to hear from all of you on this. When you look to the future, what are you hopeful for with our youth? What are you looking forward to? Rose?
I want to be able to know that what we're doing at the youth center has an impact on when they grow up. We do have several different cooking classes and stuff for them. So I was probably one of the last home economics students in high school, and so my thing was bringing back that teaching back into the schools and stuff. And so that's why we created the center that we have. And so whenever we do the the cooking, the youth activities, the leadership activities, and the gardening activities and everything that we do. I just want to know that we're making, I want something to show that we did make an impact on what they are doing. And hopefully maybe they'll become their own entrepreneurs and have their own stores, or I always encourage them to become the first Whole Food store, because we don't have that. Or bring and, make a, sell your produce at a farmer's market, just something, so.
I love that. Nick, what do you think when you look to the future?
Well, I mean, what I'm hopeful for is being able to relax.
Me too.
And then, and participate, as an older generation. And so wanting to create this space, so then that the next generation, can pick up the reins, can take this energy that we collectively created, right? And to sit back and relax and participate, because right now, like, we're so engulfed. I mean, we're so engulfed in all of the energy that we're doing, collectively. Eventually, I want my kids or my community of youth to pick up the reins and to keep on moving what we ideally envisioned, 6, 8, 10, 30 years ago, and to sit back and enjoy and to participate. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, is not being in this leadership position, but being that elder and participating in something that we created. And so as we develop these spaces, to enjoy those spaces that now we've set out to develop, to build, to construct. And so that's kind of what I look towards in the future, is not still leading this effort, but enjoying it and participating.
Yeah. Mary, what do you think about youth in the future? What are you looking forward to when the youth start taking the reins?
Well, I'm on board with Nick, so definitely some rest. I don't know. Definitely rest and relaxation. But I think that our young people. Well, I know that our young people. They have so much going for them. I think about, when I was young, before there was like internet and cell phones and all these things, our youth have access to all of this, and they know how to use it. They know how to use technology. They're so gifted at that. And so I'm very hopeful that, that our young people are going to lead us on into the next generation. And then with the Minneapolis American Indian Center, setting it up so that it is sustainable, so that it is going to be around for generations to come. The Indian Center has been around since 1975 in its current location. And it's been a long time coming for the upgrades that are happening right now. But making sure that, the center is sustainable, and, we'll be here for, my grandson and for others too. So thank you.
Great. So I think what I'm hearing is, just sustainability, that young people are taking over and becoming entrepreneurs and becoming leaders. And, I think that's so empowering for young people to hear, is that this is what we want you to do, to rise to the occasion and to become those food justice leaders that we know that they can be. And so on that note, I want to close this out and give a big lemlench, a big thank you to our panelists and to our sponsor, the Newman's Own Foundation. And And yeah, here on the screen, you can see the Newman's Own Foundation will be starting their newsletter soon. So take a second, scan the QR code, and sign up for the latest news related to grant funding for Native youth and food sovereignty projects. So lum lunch, everybody. Thank you.